Well, hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the F1 Agenda. We are back discussing the Bahrain Grand Prix. With me today, it is our regular host, Callum.
Hello.
We've got Daniel Harris.
Hello.
We've got Ferge.
Hello.
We've got Jeebus.
Hello.
And we've got Geordie.
Hello.
And what a race the Bahrain Grand Prix was. But before we get into the race, we'll start off with qualifying, and we're talking about Max Verstappen. Who wants to start with Max Verstappen?
It's not a good start for the season for Max. It's been very, very meh. Quite bad.
I mean, I watched the crash and everything, and it was just another rookie mistake. Like, he'll be pissed off at himself. Like, obviously, in Australia in the race, he lost it at turn 1. Turn 2. This time he's lost at turn 2, turn 3 on Bahrain, which caught a lot of drivers out. But yeah, he'll be annoyed at that, and it's cost him a potential, to be there with his teammate, which would have been good for him.
You look at the crash; it was so mundane. You know, it's like apparently it had a power spike.
Yeah, apparently 150 horsepower spike or something went through the car.
Yeah.
Which is a lot, but you know, how much can you really?
Yes.
It seems a bit of a weird.
No, you really can, because the thing is, like, if you take the example of the F1 games, I know it's odd, but hear me out here. It's really, really easy to control the traction, and it also is in real life because of the way that they map the engine, like, sort of delivery. So every lap, Max and every driver will have, you know, their foot like a certain percentage down on the throttle at any particular point, and that's what they're used to. And I would imagine, because of like where that is on the track, there's going to be quite not much power being delivered, so you can have your foot quite hard on the throttle. If you're suddenly going to get a lot of power, then all of a sudden your foot is in the same position, but you've got 150 extra horsepower coming off your foot. So
Yeah.
it really makes a massive difference.
I understand that, but it's a bit like the software can't glitch that much.
Oh, it can.
I mean, it can. I don't know.
And
I don't
it
know
did.
what the point is.
I mean, speaking of software, we'll get into the software glitches for Red Bull later in the race. But I mean, yeah, I have to agree with you, Lambert's comparing it to like F1 gaming. I mean, obviously, I race myself. I mean, it's like it's easy to control, but then again, like you have those moments, which is definitely what I think Max probably has had.
His season has just been terrible, though.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't his fault, but as we'll get on to in a bit,
The race is another story.
the race most certainly was.
Unfortunately,
But we'll talk about the positive aspects of qualifying. I think fantastic performance from the Toro Rosso boys.
yeah, that was absolutely brilliant. I love how after quali they actually said we actually have to look at the data to realise why we're so fast. They actually shocked themselves at how fast the car was.
Gasly throughout that whole thing was just like I watched him in free practice and I thought the car looks decent, but then I looked at I did not expect him to get it was P5 in the end, but P4 in the end, but I did not expect him to get P5.
Also, when you look at Harley, he's down missing in the back. So it was definitely a very, very just a bit like cost. There was a major difference between the two drivers in the team. Gasly had an amazing weekend, a great qualifying, good race. Meanwhile, Harley messed about getting getting 2 penalties, I think, during the race.
His qualifying was slightly disrupted by the fact that a bird flew into his front wing.
Ripped the poor bird.
To be fair, he still qualified 11th, which is remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do say Ripple give you wings.
It takes the wings away from that bird, though.
Oh, that's terrible.
Ba-dum-bunch. No.
Vettel avoids
What?
birds and Hartley just goes straight into.
I was about to say about speaking about the Toro Rosso. There's as a McLaren fan myself, I saw a lot of memes on Twitter about the comparing the two, And while I was still annoyed at how the McLarens, they qualified, I was really happy for Toro Rosso that they actually did to get that high in qualifying. I think it was generally for Gasly and both Hartley, it was pretty good, I'd say.
Yeah. It's nice to see teams like that get those highs every now and again. It's good for the sport.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as simple as a high. I think it's going to be a regular occurrence. I mean, if you think about it, this track is like one of the most dependent on engines. So surely,
Yeah, maybe.
it's just going to get better.
We'll see at other power tracks.
Although you do say that Renault had a shocker.
Well, they did.
Renault
Oh,
power.
yeah.
So, you could say maybe it's Honda, pulling out the back, but I don't think. I think Honda are definitely improving, but I think it's a bit too early to say that, Gas is going to be fighting. Toro also going to be fighting as the fourth best team.
I think they're close.
I think the fourth best team right now is McLaren.
I think on balance it
that's-
probably is, yeah.
Oh yeah, I think if you look, obviously, I think I'd say Australia was lucky for Alonso that kind of saved him. But it was like this one. I generally watched him, and he like the straight line speed. I know this track is quite on the straight line speed. It's got about 3 or 4 straights that are quite dependent on it. It was quite surprising that he was like, even with DRS, like he was still going past them quite well. I mean, last year, like it'd get to the point where he's neck and neck, and then have to bail out because it would end up being a crash. But I mean, this year they can actually get past the teams, which is quite nice to see for McLaren. If you know what I mean.
Absolutely, yeah.
I wouldn't say that McLaren are fourth best.
Who would you say is
That's
fourth?
I'll give that one to Renault at this point.
I'd say Haas.
I would agree with Jeeves. I think it's Haas.
Because
I wouldn't have said Renault.
Race pace, McLaren are probably fourth, but then you would equally say Red Bull probably first in terms of race pace.
Yeah.
It's very track dependent, and the midfield is so close anyway.
Exactly.
I've seen Toro also jump up because they had a few upgrades, and that Haas couldn't turn the tyres on.
Well, I think it's fair to say that qualifying didn't throw up too many surprises at the front. It must be said. We sort of we
I
knew.
was shocked.
You say that.
Well,
You say that.
I
Yeah,
was
Hamilton. I was really surprised about his lack of pace on those super softs.
No,
I thought he would have been up.
It's the classic Merc. They can't switch
I
on
was
the
going to say, I
softer
don't think that
tyres.
was very surprising.
Well, I wasn't surprised at Hamilton because he genuinely doesn't go very well at Bahrain. I think Rosberg out-qualified him a few times, and Bottas out-qualified him last season.
And this season.
Through testing, Merc did burn through their rear tyres, and this is a very rear-dependent track. But I was more surprised that Ferrari just had so much pace that they got a front row lockout.
Yeah.
I think I said something after qualifying. It was Kimi's reaction after I think it was only something like 1.5 tenths between him and Vettel, which at that point I was just like, I think Kimi in his back of his mind, he just says, yeah, I can beat this guy. Obviously on qualifying pace, he's I think he's quite level with Vettel at the moment. It'll probably change during the season as Vettel gets more comfortable with this year's car. But I think that there might be a change. I think Raikkonen may start. I think it's probably going to be his last year in Formula 1. Being honest, I think he'll start saying "fuck it," I'm going to go for it. And if things happen, then things happen.
Kimi's had a really good start to the year. I think he's got hooked together with this car. He's got into a flow with it quite quickly, which is important for him.
No, I was scrolling through a trailer, I think it was yesterday, and I saw this rumor about the fact that the reason why Kimi is looking a bit downbeat and such when away from the racetrack and such is because he may have been told already this is his last season at Ferrari unless he really performs. So if it is, he may be only be fighting for himself.
The problem with that is that Ferrari don't let him perform.
Exactly.
True.
Pretty much.
When he got pole in Monaco, they didn't let him win that.
And if you look at Hungary last year, when Seb had the steering issues, they could have just let Kimi go through, but they didn't.
Kimi was all over the back of him, which led the Mercedes to just be right behind them.
Yeah.
Like, if that wasn't Hungary, they would have lost that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think, like, this year, for Kimi, it's, like, quite important, as you said. Obviously, if that is true that this is, like, last season in Ferrari and as he looked as well, then it might motivate him. And I think it's shown already that, like, I mean, last year he was, I'd say, probably fifth quickest behind one of the Red Bull cars each race. Like, obviously turning on the track, but I think overall he wasn't as quick as he is this year. And I just hope that this is more to come from him in qualifying, and we'll get onto the race. But I mean, you know, he's got a lot to. Well, I think he's got a lot of potential this year to do well.
Apparently, they've already signed Ricardo on a pre-contract. Like they've already made a pre-agreement that he's going to race for them.
Ooh, interesting.
Which means basically Kimi's got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
That means he's already basically gone from the team. He can't. It's not really them to get in his way. He can do what he likes. Just
still saying it's a little bit away, but definitely think Ricciardo's going to be the biggest subject of the silly season this year.
Oh yeah.
If he stays at Red Bull, I'm going to be so annoyed.
I think he wants out of Red Bull.
Well, he's already been out saying he won't talk about contracts before the European races.
I mean, I love Red Bull and everything, but like, imagine Ricardo and Verstappen with a Honda engine. It's just not going to be.
Well,
yeah.
No, probably great. I mean, I'm sorry, but Toro Rosso performed really, really well.
Yeah, but it's a one
in one race.
But is it a one-off though? Is it really?
Well, currently this season, yeah, because they had an engine failure in Australia. So it's pole to pole, really, at this point.
It's like looking at USA 2015 when Alonso got 5th. It's like going off that. Oh, in 2016 they're going to be like challenging for the title.
They went backwards.
Yeah. I'll definitely say we have to wait for China because, as said earlier, the Toro Rossos are very, very far apart, especially in Bahrain, with Gasly in the complete, like, way out in 4th, hardly in the back, squabbling about.
I think you've got to think as well that no, sorry, I completely lost my train of thought.
I think that might be a good place to move on to the race now. I think we've covered everything to is like with the front of the qualifying. Obviously, had a few things. The midfield was kind of just the same, really, apart from the McLaren's doing a pretty abysmal, I'd say, like 30th or 14th. But yeah, let's get on to the start of the race, I think, now, and I'd say that was a pretty eventful start.
Yeah. The start itself, off the line, was pretty clean, but then you get to turn 4 and Hartley decides to swipe Perez.
I don't think that was his fault. I haven't seen it fully, but it did look like it was just a racing incident.
Yeah, it was sort of just, you know, these things happen sometimes. I think it probably was his fault and he rightfully got a penalty, but, you know, it wasn't anything, like, terrible. It was just, you know, busy area, so these things happen.
He probably locked a front brake and just couldn't control the car.
Yeah, exactly, something like that.
It's stuff that happens on that one.
Yeah, I mean, on that one, you had I think it was Magnussen who went off the turn 3. I think he's getting pushed out wide, but I can't remember who it was.
That was a Renault, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was in the race interview afterwards. He was trying to think of the right way to describe the incident.
Yeah, obviously those two have very, conflicting opinions of each other. So I think
Bit of rough history.
They had their they have a past.
Yeah. He was bullied in that race. I'm sorry, but it was not fair. Hulkenberg just does that to him, which gave him suspension damage. And then, like, Gasly, just after the virtual safety car restart, I think it was. They didn't have a full safety car, did they?
Yeah,
no, it was
I was watching the Danish commentary, and, like, they mentioned that, like, he had contact with 3 different cars when I think it was 5 laps.
Well, the Gasly move was fair, I thought. You know, had, he was already very much ahead. It
One
was
move
just,
that wasn't fair was Verstappen on Hamilton.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I don't really know what Verstappen is on about, to be honest with you.
I think that incident showed how a little bit inexperienced Verstappen still is.
Yeah.
It's just he just pulled one of those moves where he just thought, well, he's got the move, I'll squeeze him out, and he just didn't have to. But he had the corner.
Oh,
To be honest,
absolutely.
he had turn two. Lewis, if Lewis had got the inside there, it would have been easy contact. But he just did that thing where he just got a bit too arrogant, a bit too Verstappen at the moment, and caused the incident.
I think
It was
he didn't quite realise he was racing, the best driver in Formula One. I think he needs to show a little bit of respect. And I love Verstappen, don't get me wrong, I'm one of his biggest fans, but there it was just a really stupid move. He already had the pass, he already had the corner, and he tried to squeeze him out. I mean, it's just, and then he has the audacity to blame Hamilton for the crash. I mean, where is he supposed to go?
Exactly.
He can't just disappear. He had, he was already on the outside line as far as he could go.
He was all on the curb, so he would have to go off the track.
And as
Yeah,
Magnussen
well,
found out, you don't want to go off the track because there's gravel and you're going to get floor damage. So, obviously, slightly different place, but same gravel. So, it's Verstappen. I like him. He needs to get a grip quickly.
Yeah. I was about to go on to conflicting opinions. So we've got our Geordie here, who's from Holland. What was what was the view in in Holland?
In Holland, wow. Well, obviously everyone's very much a fan of Verstappen here, so everyone blame Hamilton, of course. But yeah, it was. Well, what do you need to say about it? I mean, he was on the inside. He tried to squeeze him out, didn't work. You could say it was a racing incident, maybe. Well, he didn't get a penalty, of course, because, because I don't know. I think the retirement was punishment enough.
I think it was a little bit of karma.
Yeah, I would say karma for that, because that was a bit of a risque move from Verstappen there.
And unnecessary.
Yeah.
Contrary, however, the other Red Bull, Daniel Ricciardo,
What a horrible lap that was for him.
Everything went wrong in 30 seconds.
I just feel sorry for the bloke, because he's had actually a brilliant season so far. He's doing everything right, and he's not being rewarded for it.
No, I was gonna take a picture of him when Ricardo was there, just stopped, and Verstappen was going to take a picture and just say top 10, photos taken before disaster.
Yeah, it was a wonderful piece of filmography when you saw Verstappen limping past the wreckage of Ricardo.
And then the swing back to the Red Bull pit wall and the
there's just Adrian Newey with his head in his hands. Yeah.
Good job, Liberty Media.
Well done, guys.
Yeah.
It's like the way he did it, though. He did it so slowly.
Yeah.
It's sad though, because how the race went, I think quite a lot of agree. I don't know if anyone will agree, but Ricardo would have been in the contention for the win.
Absolutely.
He was on race pace alone. He'd have been there. And I think he's got the balls. He'd have gone past Vettel.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get onto it, but I mean, he'd have gone past Vettel. Vettel obviously did win the race for anyone who hasn't watched it. But yeah. Bad day for the Red Bulls. I think that's the conclusion we got to come for there.
This is just another chapter in the story of is the Red Bull car may be fast, but is it reliable? It's always, since the hybrid era started, it's always been the same thing. The Red Bull car is quick, but it's not always reliable, and that's what's costing them.
The only season I can remember Red Bull being quite reliable is probably 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was where I think Ricardo got off. Obviously, Verstappen got his win at same. But I mean, Ricardo got a win as well. So I mean, that was when they actually could finish the race or like have not as many problems as they are having in this season so far.
That year was basically when, whenever Merck had problems, Red Bull were the first team there to get to basically capitalise.
Yeah. Yeah, they occasionally beat Merck, even.
Yeah. I think we should move on now from that to later on in the first 10 laps. Hamilton with potentially one of the best, 3 overtakes I've seen in a long
I
while.
was so excited, man.
Oh wow, that
Early
was
contender for overtake of the year.
yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so cool.
It was a mad move.
It was so cool.
He was on the limit of the track. The sparks just made it all even more cinematic, really.
Just shows you what a brilliant racing driver that guy is, man. I mean,
Oh,
Yeah.
it was just so exciting.
The only thing that made it better for me, just personally, just because I like to see crashes, like, you know, if Hulkenberg had just said no and just swiped into Hamilton, collected all 4 cars.
No.
Wow.
The fact that I just feel for like Ocon, who was the one challenging 6 on Hulkenberg, and he just gets overtaken by all 3 of them. As Hamilton just appears on the inside, he just then gets passed by Hulkenberg, and Alonso does him into
Well, I
turn 2.
think he could have held on for like in front of Alonso, but then
Yeah, he kind of went across the back of Hulkenberg and locked up.
he broke too late, so he had to swerve to avoid Hulkenberg, and then
Which means he went wide and
opened the
Alonso
door
nicked him.
for Alonso. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it shows. I mean, like obviously the Mercedes has a like superior power, but I mean, it still shows like what class. Like in the heat of the moment, just like keep his cool and just take 3 people. I mean, I may not be the best best Hamilton supporter. I personally don't want him to win this year, but I mean, I've got to say, what a move from the man.
Yeah.
And that put him in a position, kind of as we start to move on to like, the race strategy, which is something that I really want to talk about. That put him in the position, like, where he was essentially, like, as if it was, like, he qualified 4th, essentially. I mean, yes, he had time to make up, but he was on the softer tyres, so, you know, very quickly ended up in the lead of the race, as the drivers made their first of what we thought was going to be 2 pit stops. But it turned out to be 1.
Mercedes had other ideas.
And we were wrong. Vettel and Mercedes both had and even Ericsson as well. I mean, you know, we'll get on to him, but like the 1 stop seemed OP, I'd say.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is the difference, and this is what I said last time. The difference between Australia and this one was that the tyres were marginal. We didn't know that the 1 stop was even possible. And secondly, we had, you know, Vettel on the faster tyres but degrading more. We had the 2 Mercedes on the mediums that were slower at the start, but then they were catching up. We had kind of different tyre strategies, different laps being pit stops. You had different pace differences, and that meant that everything was converging together, and it was exciting. It was unpredictable. It was full of tension.
Yeah.
Well, Puerli said that the 1 stop was possible, but it was the 3rd critical strategy, I think.
As Arif found out to his peril with a very funny tweet where he asked, "What is the point of Pirelli naming the 3rd strategy?" Only to find out that it was the fastest, and he received a barrage of L's in response.
It really wasn't possible because Vettel did admit after on the podium that the tires was basically dead for 10 laps. The last 10 laps. So it didn't technically work. It worked in the fact they managed to keep Bottas behind, but only very barely.
Well, even Bottas's tyres were going off.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't attack on the last lap.
Oh,
He was locking up
really,
all over the place.
I'm mainly positive this podcast, but I need to have a word about Bottas.
Oh, I thought we were going to have Happy Lambrex this week.
Oh yeah, happy Lambrex.
We got so close because you got the 2 stop, and now
Right, so here we go. Bottas. If Hamilton was 2nd, Hamilton would have won the race. I'm almost certain of that fact. Bottas, and the last lap isn't necessarily the biggest problem about his race. Bottas made mistakes in sort of the last 10, 15 laps. Kind of a little lock up here, a little lock up there. I think there was one on like lap 52 out of turn 11, and he lost about half seconds to 7/10. That is like that was an entire lap that he had to waste getting back up to the back of Vettel, which left him only really 1.5, maybe 2 laps, and that's not enough for Bottas because he's just not a racer. In
What?
He had this problem at Williams as well.
Yeah.
He's either too conservative or too aggressive.
And I've had a look at the
Yeah.
onboards, and you know, maybe he was too far back to have a go down the inside, but I've never seen such a half-assed move in my life. He sort of like moved a bit to the inside, and sort of just said, you know, "Hi Seb, I'm here, but don't worry, it's fine. I'm not going to overtake you." But instead, what he should have done is shown Vettel the inside, and then gone to the outside, got a good run, and make the move into turn 4. That's what Hamilton would have done. That's what Ricciardo would have done. That's what Verstappen would have done.
Although I think Ricardo might have just dived.
Well, Ricciardo, and well,
Exactly.
even like, they might have also dived at turn 1, and they probably would have overtaken him there as well. But the smart race, if Bottas isn't going to be like such an aggressive overtaker, and you can be a great overtaker without being so aggressive. If he was a smart overtaker, he would have set the move up, but instead he sort of just half-assed, put his car up the inside, and made it easy for Vettel. Got a bad
Yeah,
run
I
out
think
of turn 3, and then lost the race.
The fact that he tried to go inside basically cost him the chance of going into turn 4.
Absolutely.
Let's just say the fact that he tried to go, he at least looked inside, killed because he had to make a sharp turn 1, therefore basically ruin his turn 2. Therefore
Yeah.
lost turn 3, and therefore he made a fatal error in turn 1. Going to turn 1, they cost him the chance of winning in the end.
Definitely.
This is the continuation of the problem that Bottas has this year about how on the ropes he is as a Mercedes driver. Because if you look down the grid of what people of other drivers may be in contention for that Merc seat in 2019, and you like Ricciardo, Ocon maybe, you maybe think that they would have probably made the move. They would have probably worked it better.
Well, Ocon did make a last lap move on Sainz
Yeah.
and got P10.
Exactly. You look at those kind of drivers, you think, well, if they were in that car, they'd have pulled it off. So why can't Bottas do it? And that's just putting more and more pressure on Bottas, who's already on ice as it is with with Mercedes after Australia. It's tough. He's a good driver, but is he Mercedes worthy at this point?
It's only getting tougher and tougher for Bottas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He needs to get a win in the next 2 rounds, otherwise I don't see him staying for 2019.
But I think Mercedes would rather Hamilton won twice.
I think they've already made up their mind, to be honest.
I mean,
think
but anyway, like I have nothing against Bottas, but I don't really care unless he wins the championship. He's not as good as Ricciardo.
Yeah.
Unless he like wins like 7 or 8 races, for me, he's just not as good as Ricciardo.
It's going to be an interesting market, because if Ricardo does go to Ferrari, then do Merc keep Bottas, or do they promote Ocon? Or do they get someone else? Maybe they try and poach Alonso or something.
No, I don't think you poach Alonso.
No.
I mean,
Theoretically, I'm just like pointing names out there.
Yeah. There's a lot of other names out there that Merc could theoretically go for over Bottas.
Well, I mean, Sainz or something like that, someone like that. Like,
Even if we
Yeah, but Sainz will go to Red Bull if Ricardo.
actually, yeah, Verlaine will be a good shout, because, I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah,
he
Verlaine.
knows the car.
He's-
Mercedes Junior.
He's still a
slightly
Mercedes
unproven,
driver.
though. Like,
Before we... sorry, I was about to say...
I'm not sure
before we move
Verlaine
on to,
necessarily solves the problem of Bottas.
No, but I'm saying if they can't get Ricardo, then...
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I've always thought that Bottas has had these 2 years and now go back to Williams.
For Ricardo, I reckon it sort of depends on who's going to win the championship. Or at least who it looks like is going to win the championship. He
who
might
has
go
better
just to the
potential?
championship winning team.
Because I would say Mercedes. Mercedes have a good foundation, they're always going to be challenging. With Ferrari, it's a bit...
They have up and down years, Ferrari.
Yes, because I'm still not convinced that Ferrari necessarily are going to be able to kind of stay in the front.
And
Yeah.
with Ferrari, you've always got that risk of him being number 2 to Vettel.
Exactly.
Which I assume, if he has signed this pre-contract, apparently, then, there's no way he's going to sign somewhere where he's going to be number 2. So they're going to have racing.
Yeah. Anyway, not to get sidetracked into contract talks in 2019.
I was about to say, I was going to go on to before we go on to there's 2 points. Like, if we are going to end it, it's like 2 points. I'd like to go. There's one. It was like the surprises of the race. There were 2 of them. Well, 2 of them. I'd say I'd pick out Pierre Gasly, who was a P4. One incredible drive for
Drive.
Incredible.
It was it was genuinely incredible thing to watch, and obviously watching the Toro Rosso pit crew go mad was actually it was
I was so
amazing.
happy for
That was a
them.
lovely moment.
Yes. And
Yeah, and then the other one for me, and I laughed when this happened. Marcus Ericsson getting 8th. Ninth. Sorry.
Watching the
And,
race, looking up and seeing Ericsson in like 6th, 7th, 8th, it's like, what is going on in the world? Do I need to pinch myself? Is this a dream?
It's the fact that Ericsson performed a pretty good overtake on Ocon as well. I was watching it. Ocon was on decently worn tyres, and Ericsson comes straight out of the pits, and he literally on there's the straight just went stuff this. I'm going to go past him. He just dove it down the inside. Which is
Everyone going
incredible.
mad, like, oh my god, a Sauber's passing a full.
It was like reminiscent of Manor in 2016 when Verdine overtook Gutierrez in Austria for me.
Yeah.
It was nice to see the underdogs actually win. As much as I hate pay drivers, I was so happy for him.
Give Ericsson a bit of credit here. Like, he's had a shit car for 3 seasons now.
I was reading an interesting article before I started recording that apparently he's now at his target weight, and the car is now at its target weight. Whereas for his entire career he's been overweight, and he's already tall, so he's always at that disadvantage.
I think he's going to do. I think he's going to do well this season. I think he's going to get a couple more point scoring positions. Honestly.
I think he also needed a result like this, because everyone's been looking at Leclerc this season, going, oh yeah, he's going to wipe the floor with Ericsson. Ericsson's got nothing on Leclerc, and then he's just...
I still think he's going to wipe the floor with Leclerc, but Ericsson can get some more points, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure.
Do you know? And one thing I'm going to point out, Fernando, is McLaren and Fernando Alonso is now in I think he's in 4th place.
4th in the drivers, and McLaren are 3rd in the constructors.
I'm just really smug right now, just like fuck the haters.
I think it's slightly pure blind luck, to be honest with you. They've been very fortunate.
Wow.
Well, they have, because in the race they've been very fortunate to have Red Bull fucking it up both times.
And Kimi.
And Kimi.
And Bahrain, which we'll get on to.
And Bottas in Melbourne.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't believe you say such a thing.
We
fair,
need a couple more races to see if they're actually slow or not.
To be fair,
no.
you do have to be in the right place at the right time to pick up those things, as was said in Australia.
True.
And McLaren are there.
They are there.
Thereabouts.
I think they're probably, they're in and about, but we need a couple more races to see whether they're there.
They've got genuine pace though. Did you see Van Dorn's race?
Yeah,
Van Dorn
he was last on
Van Dorn was
turn one,
better than Alonso. He was absolutely brilliant.
You say that, but Alonso with slower car was keeping up with the. I personally say it's a slower car around this track. He was keeping up with Hulkenberg. I know Hulkenberg had a bit of problems, but it was nice to see that Alonso wasn't so slow in the straights that he was getting past every time someone was behind him. That's one thing I was happy about with the McLarens.
Well, I mean, yeah, say that, but Van Dorn was last after the first lap, and he overtook. I think it was something like 22 times or something to get to his final position.
Can I just say something? Can I say a stat? In the first 10 laps in the Bahrain Grand Prix, we had 42 overtakes, compared to Australia, where we had 5 in the whole race. It's incredible.
Exactly.
It just shows how much of a better race it was. I mean, it was incredible, compared to that. And yeah.
Put
We're gonna get
F1
onto the
cars on a
last
good
thing.
track, and you'll get good races.
Mm.
And onto a bit of a more sad note now.
Mm.
Raikkonen
Yeah.
and the unfaithful pit error.
It's
Well.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I mean, we've got this talk of like, pit changes just because like 2 things have happened in 2 races. I guarantee you now for like the next 10 races nothing will happen at the pit stops at all. It'll be perfectly fine. I don't think there's any need for changes to the pit stops.
It's just unfortunate incidents that have happened.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate.
very close to each other, which has kind of made it even worse because they're 2 races in a
I
row.
think it comes with the territory.
Mm.
And the idea that we should like reduce the amount of people at the pit stops is not good, and it's something that actually the pit crews themselves are against. They know the risk that they're taking, just like the drivers do, and they're willing to take that risk. And it's actually a very low risk, Not so someone hasn't died in the pit lane for a very, very long time. Yes, we've had these injuries a couple of times, but this is the risk that you take, and they're prepared to take that risk because they love their job. I don't think we should like force any changes on them just because of
Most
2
of the-
incidents.
Most of those injuries beforehand, anyway, became from refueling.
Oh, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, the old quote, motorsport is dangerous.
Well,
Everyone knows
exactly.
that.
But
If you're willing to take the risk, it's going to happen now and again.
Exactly.
I mean, Francesco, the mechanic, he's fine now. He's only got a
Mm.
broken leg.
Yeah.
Which, and I saw a tweet which I quite liked. It said he's got a great story now. Just
Exactly.
How you broke your leg, I got run over by an F1 car.
Kimi Raikkonen ran me over, lads.
Yeah, I mean, it was as much as it was terrible for the like for the pit crew. It must be horrible for Raikkonen as well. I mean, like his race, he's running a decent race, and I think if he'd have gone on to, he was on to the what was it the, he was put onto the mediums, wasn't he, or something
I
like
thought
that?
it was one
Super
of
subs.
supers.
No, he went on supers. He was going to be on supers for the last bit.
Oh yeah. Sorry, it wasn't he on a 2-stop or something like that?
Yeah, he went supers soft and would have gone supers in the last to try and catch up to Lewis.
I personally thought he probably would have got him. Like, I mean, that'd have been a brilliant thing. Like, push Hamilton down the order and then have Vettel in first position, which, it would have even though it got a 17-point gap, it would have opened up even more. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's the end of the race aspect of it. I think you guys would agree. It was a very enjoyable race.
Fantastic.
Yes. Very good race.
Let's find out how fantastic it was with our race ratings.
Smooth.
How much do you want to take us away?
I'll take us all away. So I gave Melbourne, I think I gave it like 2.5 out of 10. This was a 9 out of 10. This is what I expect from F1 races. Tension, unpredictability, and action. I don't think that's too much to expect, as I said in Melbourne. Simple fix. This is what happened. We got a good track. We got unpredictable tyre strategies. Yes, it was a one-stop, but the difference here was it wasn't a dead certain one-stop where like they could have gone for like another 100 laps on the tyres. This was right on the edge. And I genuinely believe that if Raikkonen had got out of the pits, I think Vettel probably would have pit as well. So, just difference in strategy. It was exciting. It was tension, and even on the last lap until turn 4, you didn't know who was going to win the race because like the difference in speed was actually enough so that you could realistically get an overtake. That's exciting.
And Vettel's tyres would have gone at any minute.
Exactly. That's another thing that added to the tension. Tyres were on the edge. This is why the old Pirelli tyres that everybody complained about were actually brilliant. 2, 3, 4 stop races are just brilliant. Let's have more. Just have more stops.
I think 4's a bit too much.
Like,
personally.
yeah. Okay.
2 or 3 is
2 or
like
3
the ideal.
is the goods, I think. But I'd like to see. I'd like to see what Callum thinks. Honestly.
Yeah, fair enough. With this one, when I was watching it, I was definitely coming into it. I was kind of I looked at qualifying. I was like, yeah, this is going to be interesting. You know, you've got fourth down to about like fourth times eighth was like midfield. Like it was quite good actually. I'd say. I was surprised by like like the grid lineup, and then I got to it, and I was just like, at the end of the race, I literally just stood up and said, "Wow!" Like I've only done that in 3 races in the last 10 years, and that was, I think it was Brazil 2012, Brazil 2008 and 2012, I'd say, Canada 2011 and Azerbaijan 2017, but that was all for the wrong reasons, that one. This one was for the right reasons. This was genuinely like an incredible race, and I'd definitely rate it a 9.5 out of 10. Like, it wasn't I wouldn't say it's the perfect race, but it was something that this is the one race that if I was ever going to recommend F1 to, I'd recommend this race. Like, in this era, I'd say, like like in the new hybrid era. That's what I'd say 9.5.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I'm going to say 9.5. Great race, one of the best I've watched in a very long time.
On to Simon.
Simon.
Earth calling Simon.
Simon.
Can we just put the technical difficulties up now?
I'll have a time like but yeah, 9 out of 10. Mostly because I only give it, I would probably get 9.5 if it wasn't because I've watched MotoGP in the evening. But yeah, I had plenty of strategy choices, really good racing as well. So really good race to watch.
Yeah.
And we're on to Tibus.
Yeah. 9. It was a great race. Tyres, overtaking, Magnussen in 5th. It's all what you want. So yeah, great. Only sad but note was Williams and Stroll being so bad, but
I think they're a lost cause this season.
that's the car.
Yeah.
Rip.
Yeah,
Finally, the Dutchman, Jordi.
the Dutchman. Yeah, 1 out of 10. Verstappen didn't finish. No, but seriously, it was a solid 9 out of 10. There were very few moments where nothing was happening. It was very tense all the time. I mean, even in the final lap before Bottas went fuck it, I was on the edge of the couch, wondering who was going to win. So yeah.
Yes, I was on the edge. I was on the edge of the city for the English people. Well, not even English. It's like above Oxford people.
Hey, I call it
we
city.
get on to,
I'm from the south, and I call it a city.
Do you call it a city?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Should we not get sidetracked into whether we call it a couch or a settee and get on to China?
We can quickly have a look at China. The
Yeah.
Communist People's Republic of China.
Of course.
We love it
Every
there.
podcast we go into communism.
It's like an Easter egg for every podcast. Communism gets mentioned.
We're going to change it like to the F1 manifesto. This is going to
So, predictions then? Pole and win?
Hamilton win, Hamilton pole. I think he's going to Mercedes are going to come out absolutely smashing it. This team doesn't get 3 races wrong in a row. They're too good. And
Hopefully.
China's been a track that suited Mercedes down to the ground for a very long time. Even back in the early days of Mercedes. And Braun, and Honda, in fact. That team just loves China.
Oh, good old boy.
I know, right? JB. Those are the days. Callum, what do you think?
Alright, so I'm probably going to say, I'm going to agree with, I think qualifying-wise, Hamilton will get pole, normally does around this track. But I don't know, the way it's been going, I'm going to say Vettel victory on the fact that it will be a close battle at the fronts. That's the only reason why I say. It's because China, I think it won't matter between the two teams. I think they're equal. I think they'll just have a good battle on this circuit. So I'm going to say Vettel victory only on the fact, and I'll say it'll probably be an interesting race, but I mean I might have to eat my words.
Maybe so. Daniel, what about you?
I'm going to say Hamilton pole. I mean, he loves China, and he's just great in quali. I'm going to say Hamilton win. I think we need Hamilton to win to spice this championship up a bit.
It's a good point.
I'll spice it up even more and get Verstappen to win.
Wow.
I like you.
What the hell is going on?
Why it just turned into like, serenading now?
Yeah.
A bit of George Michael. Fedge. Oh no, we haven't had Geordie, have we?
I think Hamilton's going to take double ball and win. I don't think Mark are going to fuck up again.
And Fedge. Simon.
But based on Mercedes claiming that Ferrari has just as much power as now, I think Phil will get a pole, but I think Hamilton will win the race.
Well, there it is.
Oh.
I think we're done. And since Callum is still here, you may do the outro.
4 minutes to spare.
I know, Callum, get that outro, bang it out.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Lamberts, for hosting that that episode of the F1 Agenda. Thank you guys for listening, and also listen to. We appreciate the feedback we do get is quite good actually. Like some of the comments are quite funny. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the F1 Agenda. And I hope you'll join us next week when we review the Chinese Grand Prix, which is this weekend. I have been
Grand Prix.
Yep. The Chinese Grand Prix. I have been not your host this week, Callum, and say goodbye, guys.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Until next time.